Steelers find their quarterback and close 2025 draft with bold and promising bets. The Pittsburgh Steelers may have finally found the right man to lead their future, even if the name is not what many expected to hear on the 2025 NFL draft stage. With the arrival of Will Howard, the Steelers sent a clear message. They are no longer just looking for an immediate savior. They are betting on construction, on project, on potential. Will Howard, the surprising choice and the long-term project. When Howard's name was announced, he was not met with instant excitement. After all, names like Shedeur Sanders were available early in the process and seemed like more obvious targets. But the Steelers bet differently. They saw in Howard more than numbers or hype. They saw moldable characteristics, an interesting athletic profile, and a personality compatible with Pittsburgh's DNA. He may not arrive as an immediate starter. In fact, everything indicates that he will be a backup at this time, learning and evolving under the radar. But the organization believes that, with time and development, Howard can be more than a transitional quarterback. He can be the guy, the one who finally ends the search for stability at the most important position in the game. And there's a logic behind the bet. Not every great quarterback arrives surrounded by stratospheric expectations. Sometimes, the best leaders emerge quietly, like Tom Brady, who went in the 6th round, like Dak Prescott, who became a starter out of necessity and never left the position. The Steelers know this, and they may be on a similar path, but the Steelers' 2025 draft wasn't all about Will Howard. On the contrary, he was just one piece in a carefully planned game plan. The franchise made solid moves in critical areas. On defense, reinforcements arrived to make the front seven more aggressive and fill gaps that had long been bothersome. At the running back position, the Steelers found true draft steals, players who can contribute immediately and even compete for a starting spot. And in a surprising move, they selected a raw talent at an unexpected position, which shows boldness and a willingness to think outside the box. Names like Caleb Johnson, Derek Harmon, and Jack Sawyer are eye-catching and should enter the field with impact status. They represent the franchise's commitment to renewal, youth, and intensity. Even with all these additions, the question that hangs in the air is inevitable. Have the Steelers finally found their quarterback of the future? Shedeur Sanders, one of the most discussed names in the class, was ignored. A decision that will certainly be remembered and reevaluated year after year, depending on Howard's performance. However, this choice also shows maturity. The team could have surrendered to the shine and the pressure of the fans for a more hyped name. It could have given in to impulse, but it preferred to trust its process, its internal analysis. And that, for a traditional franchise like Pittsburgh, says a lot. The truth is that the Steelers are not just betting on players. They are betting on a philosophy, a more thoughtful approach focused on long-term development rather than short-term solutions. They know that to return to being a leader in the AFC, they need to rebuild their foundations. And that starts with a solid, united, and coachable draft class. And the most interesting thing? The outlook is brighter than many imagine. With a rejuvenated defense, an offense undergoing a makeover, and a quarterback being molded with patience, the Steelers are regaining their identity. And that's something you don't see with every team. Steelers considered trading Will Levis and rekindling search for a permanent solution at quarterback. The Pittsburgh Steelers are not yet ready to end their search for stability at the most important position in American football. Despite having added Will Howard in the 2025 NFL Draft and keeping Mason Rudolph on the roster, behind-the-scenes evidence reveals something obvious. The team is still not comfortable with what it has in hand. Talks surrounding the arrival of Aaron Rodgers are still echoing, but the reality is that the 41-year-old veteran is far from being a sure solution. Rodgers, coming off a less-than-expected season with the Jets and on the verge of retirement, represents more uncertainty than a concrete answer. The Steelers know this, and therefore, they are keeping an eye on a name that may be about to change address. Will Levis. Will Levis in Pittsburgh. A bold but strategic prediction. This is not yet a confirmed trade, but rather a prediction that is gaining traction behind the scenes in the NFL. With the Tennessee Titans selecting Cam Ward with the first overall pick in the 2025 draft, Levis' future with the franchise has suddenly become uncertain. Along with names like Brandon Allen and Tim Boyle, the former Kentucky quarterback appears to have fallen out of the running for a starting spot. But that's where the Steelers' interest comes in. Levis still has value, not just as a trade asset, but as a player who can reinvent himself in a new environment. Despite a shaky 2024 season with worrying numbers, 13 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and 10 fumbles, he showed flashes of talent in 2023 that continue to delight scouts and coaches. For Levis, Pittsburgh could be the ideal place for a professional rebirth. Under offensive coordinator Arthur Smith, known for developing attacks based on the running game and smart use of mobile quarterbacks, the Steelers' tactical system fits exactly the characteristics that made Levis a star at Kentucky. In college, Levis combined arm strength, mobility, and quick reads to rack up more than 5,800 passing yards and 46 touchdowns, as well as 1,900 rushing yards and 17 rushing touchdowns. He was a true dual threat, something Smith values, and something Russell Wilson completely lacked last season. At just 25, Levis still has time and room to grow. Instead of going all in on a rookie like Will Howard or a worn-out veteran, the Steelers could, for a relatively affordable trade, add a young name with professional experience and development potential. It's a midterm move with a high return. The Steelers' current quarterback situation remains a concern. While Will Howard represents a promising prospect, and Mason Rudolph is familiar with the locker room, relying solely on those two names in 2025 would be risky. Howard is raw and needs time. Rudolph, while solid, doesn't inspire confidence as a full-season starter. And with Aaron Rodgers surrounded by doubts about his fitness and future, adding a third name becomes almost mandatory for the Steelers' season. In this context, Will Levis emerges as a much more strategic alternative than one might imagine at first glance. Titans need to move, and Pittsburgh could take advantage. The Tennessee Titans have already given clear signs that Will Levis is no longer in the plans. The choice of Cam Ward as the quarterback of the future leaves Levis in a kind of limbo. Too talented to be just a backup, but with no real room to compete for a starting spot. Levis' market value is low after the 2024 season, which makes this the ideal time for the Steelers to try a smart trade. The Titans, in turn, are in the rebuilding phase and could benefit from acquiring future picks or young defensive talents to strengthen other areas of the roster. Conclusion: a golden opportunity that the Steelers cannot ignore. The Steelers' quarterback project is still open, and until there is a clear certainty under center, all options should be considered. Will Levis may not have shined in 2024, but his talent hasn't faded. With the right system, the right environment, and a coherent development plan, he could become a central piece for the franchise's future. The question remains, will Pittsburgh dare once again and attempt a rescue that could change its destiny? If Arthur Smith can rekindle Levis' talent, this trade could be seen in the coming years as a quiet but crucial turning point in the Steelers' return to the NFL's elite.